I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the drama playing out in real time in Tucson, the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, a case that has everyone wondering who was the man behind the mask and why did he take Nancy? Here's the story. She raised strong daughters, including Savannah Guthrie, host of NBC's Today Show. But in her own home, Nancy Guthrie now stands at the center of a chilling mystery. The 84-year-old was last seen late Saturday, January 31st. By Sunday morning, she had vanished. Her family found the house disturbed and called authorities. Investigators quickly shifted from missing person search to a suspected abduction. Blood identified as Nancy's was found outside. Detectives revealed that digital monitoring tied to her pacemaker and home security systems were disabled overnight. Then came the reveal. A masked individual caught on camera outside of her home in the dark. Armed, deliberate. Ransom letters then surfaced, though their authenticity has not been confirmed by investigators. The investigation is scaling back now while thousands of tips continue to pour in. And yet, Nancy still remains missing. Still remains missing. We're talking about more than a month later. If you think about it, this whole thing starts, right? January 31st is the last time that she is seen, dropped off by her family. Then we go through the month of February. Now we're into March, and still nobody knows where Nancy Guthrie is. Despite the fact of all the resources that have been pulled into this case, all the eyeballs that were on this case, as it was the lead story night after night after night, the video's been seen by so many people. No one's come forward saying they recognize the guy. It's really, it's hard to, and FBI putting all those resources in as well. And still, there's no arrest. There's no named suspect, just an image of a guy wearing a mask. Let's bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that we're here in March and there hasn't been an arrest, but you know, I know they're working on it. I know they're following leads. What's the latest though from Nancy's house?
Well, Vinny, I'm equally as shocked because, you know, it's day 30. We're entering a 5th week here of this investigation of Nancy Guthrie being missing and still no major lead, still no named suspect. That $1 million prize put up by the Guthrie family still unclaimed. So we're pretty much at square one here. But something new today, Vinny. Savannah Guthrie was spotted outside of the house today looking at a memorial set up by neighbors in front of Nancy Guthrie's house alongside her sister Annie Guthrie, who lives nearby, just about a 10-minute drive away from Nancy's house as well, out there in Tucson in the Catalina foothills. Now, News Nation's Brian Inton was at Nancy's house today. He saw Savannah Guthrie and her siblings visiting that memorial outside. Here's a video he posted to X earlier. So we saw Savannah and Annie there, joined by Annie's husband, Tommaso, who also lives out there in Tucson. But Savannah posted this on Instagram afterwards today as well. This post here, along with this caption: "We feel the love and prayers from our neighbors, from the Tucson community, and from around the country. Please don't stop praying and hoping with us. Bring her home." Now, Vinny, also on Sunday, Jonathan Lee Riches, also known as JLR Investigates on YouTube, all across social media, he posted this image from Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood earlier today as well. The picture shows a printed out sign stating, quote, "Dear media, this neighborhood needs space to process, heal, and gather in privacy as a loving community. Please cover this tragedy from elsewhere so that we may have some privacy, space, and dignity." Now, JLR Investigates, he was one of only a few people outside of Nancy Guthrie's home today, this morning. This is what he posted online as well. there sound on this? Okay. All right, some technical difficulty there, Vinny, but what he was saying in that video, he was pretty much pointing out there was media down both directions in front of Nancy Guthrie's house. You remember I was there for a week. There was media lined up all yards down the road in front of this house. It was pretty crowded and congested. So he's pointing out that it's pretty much a ghost town now, which leads me to think that this coverage has started to dramatically decrease.
Oh, it absolutely has. There's no doubt. Everyone is seeing it and feeling it. Obviously, folks like us here at Court TV who are in this true crime space are still covering it, but you can see the media's not there. Obviously, there's other things happening in the world that are grabbing a lot of headlines, and now very few headlines from there. There's this incredible decrease in the coverage of this story and this case. And that brings us to the first question in our investigation. How will the decrease in media coverage impact the investigation, right? So, I mean, less cameras, less people talking about it. It's not the lead story on the traditional news outlets. People are pulling back. Local news even pulling back. Here with us to talk about this, retired homicide detective, host of the true crime show, The Murder Mind on YouTube. Vince Velasquez is with us, and YouTube live streamer behind Gray Hughes Investigates. It's Gray Hughes. Great to have you both here. All right, Vince, for law enforcement, is this a good thing that the case is not being covered to the extent that it once was?
Well, this is a very big case, and I got to say, as we all know, the story's only as big as the next big story. But for law enforcement, it's a double-edged sword. The more this case is in the public eye, the more it is a demand for public pressure. What happens is when the coverage starts to decrease, neighbors or people with information may not feel pressure to cooperate or come forward. Neighbors who have been constantly replaying events in their head, what they may have seen, what they may have saw on their Ring cameras or just driving around trying to be helpful, that starts to fade. On the other side of things, if this suspect is local in that area, the reduction in media coverage may make this suspect feel a little more comfortable blending in and having conversations with people and may slip up. So this thing can go either way. But unfortunately, like I said, this story is as big as it is only as big as the next big story. And like you said, Vinny, we have a lot of other things going on in the world. So it's no surprise to me right now that the attention to this story is dropping dramatically.
Dramatically. Gray, a couple things. One, were you shocked by the scene at Nancy Guthrie's home? And what are your thoughts about the decreased coverage here outside of our world of true crime media?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit strange to see so many people piled along the roads, almost like, and they're all just filming a house basically for that one rare moment where some car might drive by and then they go, oh, look at that. The thing is, this case is an interesting case regardless of the fact that Nancy is the mother of somebody famous, but I think it got popular really quick because of her being the mother of Nancy Guthrie. Savannah Guthrie. And because of that, people started following it, and then they put out that surveillance footage. And as you know, whenever you put out something like that, it brings a whole new level of enthusiasm because there's so many people that think they can see various things and so forth. And this case right now is starting to remind me a lot of the Delphi case where, you have this person on a bridge walking, but there's no answers. It went on and on for years. And this case has a similar feeling to that right now, where we're at a place a month in. You would think something like this, a case this big with this much resources applied to it, you would have got answers, all right? But what's going to happen now is conspiracy theorists will keep the case going online. It won't die down at all on social media. It is dying down on mainstream media. But I remember listening to Becky Patty one time. She told me that she was actually grateful even for the conspiracy theorists, because at least it kept the case in the news. So, I mean, maybe that's what we'll be seeing right now. And a lot of times online people dig up things that other people don't see as well. So hopefully it'll keep going in that vein.
Yeah, I think the one difference here, Vince, in what would always keep this story potentially in the news is Savannah Guthrie. Anytime she says anything about it, speaks publicly, returns to the Today Show, people are going to talk about it. So I think that's one difference that this case will have until it's solved. How much pressure do you think law enforcement is feeling?
I think they're feeling a tremendous amount of pressure. And one thing I think people don't understand is with a case that has this much attention, of this magnitude, law enforcement has basically focused all their resources on this. They had the assistance of the FBI, but I'm sure there's other cases that they're putting on hold that they may now have to divert their resources back to these other cases. So I'm not sure what type of caseload they have, but as we know, everyone is on this case, the FBI, the local police. And now when it's not getting that public scrutiny, it's not getting that pressure, I think they're going to feel a little bit easier to move in some other directions. I mean, forensically, I think they've done what they could do, unless there's other things that we just don't know about. And I'm sure they're pursuing those leads. But it's a tremendous, listen, we're 30 days into this thing and we're no closer than we were from day one. You know, I was on the show previously and you asked me to give you a number, 1 to 10, when this thing would be solved, and I think I gave you a 4. You know, I would think in the first week or two is when I would expect to see something that was very significant. Absent of the doorbell Ring camera, besides that, you know, I know some other developments have happened, but nothing has really come to light that is of substance that's pointing to a real suspect at this point.
Unbelievable. All right, good news. Our guests are staying with us. Coming up next, why was Carlos Palazuelos detained?
Do you think you might have delivered a package to Nancy Guthrie's house?
I don't know. Might have been a possibility. I don't know.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end, and Corey, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged now with his murder.
He was faced with betrayal and terror.
I know her innocence.
Is their story a tragic romance?
Or a twisted tale of grief?
The truth will come out.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Terrifying. Something I didn't do for something. I was being like, I felt like I was being kidnapped, bro. They didn't tell me anything at the beginning.
And investigators showed up to this house, or were you the one who was pulled over at the traffic stop?
I was the one that was pulled over at the traffic stop.
Where was that?
Right here on by Chubasco.
Okay, and you were taken into custody at that point?
Yeah.
And you were...
I was being detained.
Detained, okay.
I was detained the whole time.
So one of the first, what we thought was big moments in this investigation came when that man, Carlos Palazuelos, was detained and pulled over. It was chaotic. I watched the whole thing play out on live streams online. As you could see that someone had been pulled over, there was something happening in a house associated with the person who was pulled over, and a lot of people thought, okay, this is it. This is it. Well, let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. All right, Cody, what can you tell us about Carlos Palazuelos?
Well, Vinny, he's an Arizona delivery driver. He was detained, questioned early on in this investigation on February 10th. Now, he was stopped in Rio Rico, Arizona, which is more south. It's towards the border between Arizona and Mexico, questioned as a person of interest, obviously. But after his home was searched and several hours of questioning, Vinny, he was released and let go. Take a listen to how he says it went down.
They arrested me for kidnapping, which I don't know what's going on.
So what, how did this...
I'm from Rio Rico, as you can see. And it's Pima County Sheriffs.
And so how did this all start? How did they stop you here? You were driving here?
Yeah,
or?
My wife was driving.
Your wife was driving?
Because they were following me. And once I saw they were following me, I pulled over. They didn't even have to put a traffic stop or anything. I got off the car, and they arrested me as soon as I got off the car. They didn't even tell me what was going on until the detectives got here, like 2 hours before I got arrested. And then the detectives got here. It was the FBI agent in Santa Cruz County. and they told me I was being detained for kidnapping. And I asked them, like, well, kidnapping of who? And they told me this lady, I don't know her name. And
Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, that's her. And I told them I work in Tucson for GLS. I might have delivered a package to your house, but I never kidnapped anybody. They hold me from like 4 to right now.
So it was about 4 o'clock, and they're holding you to right now, so after midnight? Did they tell you anything? I mean, you're in the back of the truck?
They didn't tell me anything until right now. Like I said, like the beginning, they answered they wanted me to answer their questions, like where I was, what hours, and all that, and I answered the questions. And right now, all they told me is that I'm free to go.
All right, Vinnie, then about a week after that interaction there, the local station KNXV sat down with Carlos and his attorney. Take a listen to what they had to say.
I can't even go out. I can't dash for my wife because people taking pictures of us or following us. Like yesterday, we went out dashing, we got home, and there was this red truck following us. This morning was there too, so it's been kind of scary for me and for my wife, my kids, and everybody.
The first thing that really needs to happen is that the Pima County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Nanos need to clear Carlos's name. They need to make this right. They've falsely arrested an innocent man. They've subjected his family to misery, humiliation, handcuffs, and there's no evidence. This was a wrongful arrest. It was a false arrest. They've cast this shadow of suspicion on Carlos and his family, and now they're living day to day. They're living in fear. And so the first thing that I'd like to see is Sheriff Nanos and the Pima County Sheriff's Office come forward and say, this was a mistake. Carlos is not a person of interest. He is not an investigative lead. We messed up.
So all of that to say, the first bit of major movement that we saw early on in this investigation seemed to have been a bust.
Yeah, to say the least. And, you know, you just hear the way he speaks and everything else, and he's been very out front about this and speaking about it. It doesn't seem to be hiding a thing. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why was Carlos Palazuelos detained? Still with us, Vince Velasquez and Gray Hughes. Gray, what are your thoughts about this whole thing? When this first broke, everyone thought this was the big deal, the big arrest. It was going to lead to something, led to nothing, yet it's sort of been radio silence ever since.
Yeah, well, it may actually give us a clue, too, of what law enforcement has. I mean, I think law enforcement has to have a vehicle of interest that they've spotted on surveillance camera. You remember the other day when the FBI cleared the Kia Soul that was like at 236 on this other street? Well, how could they do that? That means they're aware of either lights through the trees and partial images of a vehicle that are going in a different direction that they know is likely going to be the vehicle that the kidnapper used, right? So they probably did, like CAS data, figured out which vehicles were in the area that night and sort of match. They have a vehicle that matches the type that they're looking for. And then they probably looked up the pictures of these people because Carlos actually said when he was brought in a different interview that they said, your eyes, they look just like the suspect, right? So that's pretty interesting that, so they got him in there. I wonder what the probable cause document said. Wouldn't you love to see that?
Oh, would love to see that. All right, Vince Velasquez, take us behind the scenes here. What's happening here? Like, I've seen this on Law & Order, happens every episode. They arrest 2 or 3 people. I know the first 2 or 3 they arrest are completely innocent. Is this common, what we're seeing happening here?
Well, let's be clear. He wasn't arrested. He was detained. There's a big difference.
8 hours, though.
Okay, right. I understand. I worked missing persons and homicide cases for almost 2 decades. This happens all the time. And why was he detained? 2 words, probable cause. They had a warrant for his house, and they had a warrant for his car. That means they have something there that leads a reasonable person to believe that the person involved is somehow connected to this crime. Doesn't mean they did it. That's what probable cause is. And it's a tool that investigators use to eliminate suspects. Now, if he really was the suspect and they had this probable cause and they didn't stop him and they didn't search his car, we would be talking about something totally different right now. The glaring question would be, why didn't they stop him? Why didn't they interview him, detain him, interrogate him? You know, I understand, in all accounts, I've interviewed and interrogated many, many suspects. Just this guy's affect, to me, I don't believe he has anything to do with it, and I think he has been eliminated. And like you said, I would love to see the affidavit for this warrant. It would spell out what the probable cause is. Now, those circumstances could exist that allows law enforcement to get a judge to say, yeah, there is enough evidence there, circumstantial likely, to detain this guy and search his house to search for more evidence. I've done this a million times in homicide investigations where I had that probable cause and I eliminated a suspect and moved on to the next lead.
Now, his attorney did speak some more about this. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about this, the probable cause affidavit that we're talking about.
Our understanding is that they obtained the search warrant they obtained that allowed them to search Carlos's vehicle and his family's property through the use of a secret affidavit. As far as we know, that affidavit is sealed and remains sealed. And, you know, our suspicion, our educated suspicion, is that this has something to do with cell phone pings, which everybody knows are unreliable.
All right, so great. Looks like the attorney is suspecting cell phone pings.
Yeah, I think it probably showed that his cell phone was in the area, maybe even historical cell phone, like as if you're sort of scouting out the house prior. So they may see that his phone has been there a few different times, and maybe it was even there, you know, that evening at some point. And he does deliver DoorDash, and he works for a company called GLS. I guess they deliver packages and sometimes even deliver Amazon packages. And there is an Amazon package that was left right there on the tiles at the scene. I don't know when it was there, but it was in some of the photographs that was taken right at the beginning of the case. But I think definitely cell phone data is what they're using to, that's why they even detain those other people and the vehicles and their look. Because if you remember the other people that they arrested 2 days later, when we thought, oh, that's the next big break, a couple of those guys have a similar look with the goatee, et cetera. So, you know, I think they're combining cell phone data, physical descriptions, and then, you know, detaining these people. I'm not sure how they get probable cause out of that. But,
yeah. Well, you know, someday it'll be unsealed. Vince Velasquez, The Murder Mind on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. Gray Hughes Investigates as well. Guys, thanks so much. We're out of time for this time, but again, we'll be speaking again. All right, when we come back, still to come, why was this Range Rover seized? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the abduction of Nancy Guthrie. With every new development, there is some renewed hope that she'll be found and renewed prayers that she will be alive. But now the case is falling off the front page. Here's the story. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, a mother, a grandmother, a woman who lived quietly in the Catalina foothills just north of Tucson. On Saturday, January 31st, she returned home around 9:45 p.m. after dinner with family. By morning, she was gone. When she didn't show up for church the next day, relatives checked on her. Inside her home, something was wrong. Deputies quickly declared the residence a crime scene. Authorities say the evidence indicates Nancy did not leave voluntarily, and blood confirmed to be hers was found outside. Then came the twist. Surveillance video capturing a masked figure on her porch during the night, reportedly carrying a backpack and what appeared to be a gun. Security systems were disabled. Now, the investigation is scaling back, yet still, no suspect named, no proof of life released, and the nation watches, waiting for the next break. So the biggest moment when the most people thought, okay, this is it, They have found something. They have found someone. This is a huge development in the case. Was on a Friday night that went late into Friday into Saturday morning when investigators stopped this Range Rover at a Culver's. They searched it. They detained the driver. Then they seized the vehicle. And we're like, okay, this is a big moment. I mean, they're going to find some evidence, right? Or there's a reason why this vehicle is connected to all of this, right? There's got to be some evidence. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. All right, Cody, what can you tell us about when this Range Rover was seized and taken by investigators?
Yeah, Vinny, so this all went down about 2 weeks after Nancy Guthrie was reported missing. This went down on February 13th, that Friday. This SWAT operation that targeted this Range Rover and the owner of that Range Rover, a man named Luke Daley, alongside his mother, a woman named Mary. Now, Daley was, of course, detained outside that Culver's restaurant while his Range Rover was searched and towed, but he also says he was not given a clear answer about why he was being detained, why he was being investigated while sitting in the back of a cop car for hours. Now, Arizona's family true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney spoke to Luke Daley about what happened on that night he was detained driving home in his new Range Rover. Take a listen.
They pulled me over at the Culver's right there, asked me to get out of the car, didn't tell me what it was about. So they had me cuffed in the back of a cop car, detained. I was asking, like, what am I being detained for? And they wouldn't tell me anything. They just said that the detectives would be there to talk to me. And once I saw, like, FBI and all the other cars start pulling in, I'm like, oh, this is probably about the Guthrie case. I'm like, this should be easy. Like, I have nothing to do with this, so it should be not a big deal to clear my name and move on.
Now, Vinny, Daley was released that same night. Yet again, another person of interest detained and then released, and he has since gotten his Range Rover back. But he says many people online continue to kind of berate him because they say he fits the description, the physical description of that suspect that we've seen on that doorbell camera video. And something else that Daley says, Vinny, he also says people online have posted about his criminal past that is related to drug charges that are obviously public record, but he says those charges have nothing to do with this case and this investigation into finding Nancy Guthrie.
Yeah, and people talking about that, you know, demonstrates why in a criminal trial, prosecutors can't put that evidence in front of a jury. Because once people find out someone's got a record, they put two and two together. But as Cody said, the Range Rover was returned. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why was the Range Rover seized? Like, it was seized, they took it, they've returned it, they detained him, they released him. What's going on here? Joining us, founding member of the NYPD K-9 unit, former Nassau County Police Lieutenant Mike Gould is with us, and former homicide detective with more than 20 years working homicides and high-profile cases, Phil Waters is also here. All right, Mike, what are your thoughts here, your theories about what went into and why they seized this Range Rover?
Yeah, Vinny, so originally, although I didn't agree, but they were operating on the presumption that this was a kidnapping and they had to get to the person as quickly as possible. They were dealing with a tremendous amount of leads, and a description of this vehicle came on across their radar. They stopped it. They, exigent circumstances. When you have a kidnap victim, exigent circumstances trump search warrants and so forth. But the vehicle itself, the Range Rover, has a very sophisticated event data recorder. If you remember, that was used a lot in the Karen Reed case, where it tells the speed, its turns, its lateral movement, its braking, when it goes in reverse. So I think that's it. That was a lead. And that was it. It got a lot of media attention. I blame the sheriff. I always have. Not the sheriff deputies, not the investigators, but the sheriff should have been clearing up a lot of these things all along. Instead, he blamed the media, actually, for asking too many questions about whether the family was involved. That's a perfectly legitimate question to ask if family and friends were part of this. And he refused to. He sounded more like the PR person for the family, frankly, than he did for the investigation. So that's my point. It was a lead. They investigated it. If it goes somewhere, it does, and it may not.
All right. Phil, the vehicle's been returned, number one, apparently. Do you think it was about the vehicle or the person behind the wheel of the vehicle that led to this seizure?
Oh, I think it was a little bit of both. You know, they've got, as Mike's already alluded to, they've received thousands of leads, and there's a lot of branches to this investigative tree, and this was just one of them. So they're pursuing a lead that led them to this individual, and they're going to execute search warrants, I believe, at his residence, and then they've got their eyes on him in the vehicle. And whether or not it was implicated in some sort of lead that they received or some sort of information that they garnered from some other source, who knows? But there was enough of a need here to stop the individual, detain him for a period of time, seize the vehicle, and have it processed. And then once they finish processing it and they've gotten any kind of probative evidence out of it, then they return the vehicle to him. That's kind of the protocol of an investigation.
So, Mike, in this investigation, we've seen the sheriff come out and clear the family, right? Because early on, social media, just people in general were talking a lot about the family, as they always do in these types of cases, and sort of zeroed in on the son-in-law, Tommaso, but the sheriff was very direct in clearing all family members, including spouses, in all of this. Should the same thing be done for other people who have been stopped and detained and released? Should the sheriff come out, especially in a case like this that is so high profile, where, you know, people are going to be very suspicious of anyone who is somehow approached by law enforcement?
Yeah, Vinnie. Well, as I said earlier, you know, the sheriff is obviously not a media relations expert. He's not a good representation. He's not a public information officer. So with that said, and I keep repeating myself because he did come out aggressively towards the public and the media for asking questions about friends and relatives. The son-in-law, he was a natural person to talk about, if not for the only reason he was the last witness. He was an eyewitness to where she was dropped off. So so yeah, he came out too late, and of course he should not exonerate people. Nobody can be exonerated here. Even the family can't fully be exonerated, but he should come out and say, he just has to state the facts at a press conference, not these one-off interviews he does with people, and he says your guess is as good as mine. This is not what it just makes conspiracy theories go wild. So he could have tamped this down, and I don't like to criticize. I've been in that position. I've been criticized many times for everything I've done, frankly.
But never on this show. I've never criticized you on this show, Mike Gould. All right. Hold your thoughts right there, guys. Phil and Mike are staying with us. Coming up next, what brought the SWAT team to that Catalina Foothills home?
Searching someone's home is a really big issue to law enforcement.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end, and Corey, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged now with his murder.
He was faced with betrayal and terror.
I know her innocence.
Is their story a tragic romance?
Or a twisted tale of grief.
The truth will come out.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Searching someone's home is a really big issue to law enforcement. Not because you can gain evidence, but because you could be violating someone's right. Your home is your sanctity. So we look at that breach and take it very serious. So much so that we do check with county attorneys and different prosecutors, U.S. attorneys, and we review it with a judge. And based on all of that, we make a decision whether or not we have enough for a search warrant. If the judge approves, we go.
And it seems they did have some judicial approvals in this case. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, let's talk about that SWAT raid at a home in the Catalina foothills. Again, we go back to what, the Friday the 13th, all this happened.
Right, Vinny, and it's important you mention that date because this went down the morning of the 14th on Valentine's Day, and it was related to that SWAT movement of the Range Rover at the Culvers because the home is where Luke Daley's mother, Mary, was living. So that's where they're both connected. He was at the Culvers, Mary was at the house. Now, this house was close to Nancy's home, which is why everyone thought it was a big deal once SWAT was put into motion. And in fact, the Pima County Sheriff's Department posted this statement on X the morning of February 14th. They say, quote, law enforcement activity is underway at a residence near East Orange Grove Road and North First Avenue related to the Guthrie case. Because this is a joint investigation, at the request of the FBI, no additional information is currently available. And Vinny, we have images from that night of the raid in front of the house. In those images, you can see the big armored vehicles there. You see that big one here on the screen, along with other vehicles from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And Vinny, what we also have a map of the SWAT search map, again, showing how close in proximity this home was to Nancy's. And I remember seeing this headline, Vinny, thinking they found the guy. I mean, SWAT is in motion. They're at a home. They're raiding. They're doing the Culvers raid with the Range Rover. They're raiding this house. This has to be it. But again, Mary, just like her son Luke, was released. Now, Arizona's family true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney spoke with Luke Daley's mother, Mary Chapman Daley, about the night her home was raided. Take a listen.
They came in the big SWAT vehicles, pulled into my driveway, and said they wanted to, they wanted to see anything that could link anything. And I said, well, yeah, go ahead. I mean, so they were there for about 6 hours. And I was in the SWAT vehicle, and they went through my house and went through everything and tore everything, broke my, if a door was locked, they would break it open to go see what was in there. There really wasn't anything in there, but, it was pretty upsetting.
So, Vinny, yet again, all of this motion, all of this action just to be left back at square one.
Unbelievable. All right, Cody Thomas, great job tonight. All right, that brings us to the final question in our investigation this hour. What brought the SWAT team to that Catalina Foothills home? Still with us, Mike Gould, and joining us, criminal defense attorney, retired police officer Joe Hennessy. Joe, we've been talking a lot about probable cause tonight. How would you describe that level of evidence? When we talk about it all the time, but how would you describe, that level of evidence? We watch trials here on Court TV. We know about beyond a reasonable doubt. Where do you kind of put this? Because someone's home is being searched, someone's vehicle is being seized, and people are being detained.
Probable cause is a very low standard. It's kind of like a 50-50 chance. So that's probably what they're looking at. If they have a belief, I believe it's called the objective reasonableness test. If they believe that something is happening in that house, there's evidence to be found, they're going to seek a search warrant, and that's what we had here. I disagree with the obtaining of the search warrant and the issuance of it, but I haven't read the affidavit. It's something that I would like to read.
We all want to get our hands on these affidavits we've been talking about all night. All right, Mike Gould, the other big part of this whole thing when it happened that night into the early morning hours was that it was this huge SWAT raid. These big armored vehicles are going in. And a lot of people were reading into that. Do you think they expected or suspected that they were going to come across and find Nancy and find, people with guns trying to fight them off?
Yeah, Vinny. So that's kind of what I always thought. If you come with a SWAT team, it's not just a search for evidence, right? You don't need a SWAT team to present a search warrant and come into somebody's house and search for evidence. So it's my belief that they actually thought that Nancy was there or there was evidence that she was there. And just to make a point, exigency, if somebody's in danger, their life is in danger, you don't need a search warrant if you have reasonable cause, probable cause to believe that Vinnie Politan is holding somebody in his house. We can just come through the front door if we can articulate why we did that. Why would we go get a judicial warrant if I think that somebody's being hurt or killed inside of somebody's home? So yeah, I think they did. And again, we're all waiting to see their justification, but they must have had it because they went to that level of getting a judicial warrant, whether we agree with it or we disagree with it, they did it. So I don't think there's any, again, this is the course of an investigation. It's not a homicide investigation. It's a kidnap investigation. So it takes on a whole different realm when you're dealing with a live person, right? Or presumably live person, which I didn't agree with to begin with, but that's what they were investigating. So time was of the essence, and exigency trumps search warrants every time.
Yeah, you're talking about my house, Mike. I think the only thing, you must have gotten a tip from a 10-pound Morkie who didn't get enough treats today and wants to break out. All right, Joe, so where do you think law enforcement is in all of this? And do you get a sense that these leads are dead ends and that they're desperately searching for something here? Or do you think that there is some sort of progress that we're not necessarily seeing?
I wish I had the full picture to give you a full answer. My opinion, I think they're searching for straws right now. I think every little tip that they're receiving, they're reaching out. I don't believe that they're meeting the objective reasonableness test, and I think they're just reaching for anything that they can right now.
Mike, the other thing that seems to have happened is that there's been a reduction in the manpower and woman power investigating all this, and it seems like it's much more focused into a task force at this point. What are your thoughts there? Do you think that might help things a little bit, a little more focus in the investigation?
Yeah, I think that we all come to realize, including the family, that this is a recovery. It's not a rescue. So that does change the metrics a little bit. But I don't think it's a cold case. It's by definition, it's not a cold case because hundreds of leads are still coming in. They all have to be exhausted. And 1 month into this, look, I was the first one to think that all the digital evidence, GPS, phone records, I thought this was going to be resolved in a week or two myself. When we had the full strength of the FBI director, the president of the United States opining on it, being optimistic. So I thought it was. But now, this is kind of traditional. It takes time. All these things, we're a month into what I believe is going to be a homicide investigation, whether it's a no-body homicide or she's recovered. And again, it's insensitive, I know, but these are the facts. You have to deal with facts. Hope springs eternal. I would like nothing more to be wrong.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of there. Big thanks, Mike Gould, Joe Hennessy. Great to have you on the program. Appreciate it. The searches and seizures by law enforcement have been significant. They have some factual basis. However, at this time, despite all the resources and attention, they've led to nothing. But the lingering question is, are these dead ends or just step one? I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.